Hello everybody, Jesper here. I thought I'd reinstitute an old thing that I did, I believe, way back when I released, pun intended, when I did Airbase back. I made a behind the scenes movie called Behind My Back, which basically is me going through the production of a certain single. So I thought I'd do the same with the new single Lachrymose, which is featured on the Flashover Recordings Presents mix series, which is out hopefully now, but release date 4th of March. And the very mix compilation starts out with my new track Lachrymose, and this is the one I have in front of me here. A little bit of history behind this track. It's actually the very first save file for this project was created early 2010, so this is a 6-year in the making kind of track. Not that I've been working on it for that long, but you make a ton of ideas, you save them, and not always do you finish them up. But this is one of those tracks. I think I had about a minute worth of intro, which I kept coming back to, thinking I still really like this and I really need to do something with it. And I was kind of stuck to what to do with the track from that very intro, because it's quite gloomy, moody, soft kind of intro, and I just didn't know how to take it forward into build it up to some sort of track. I tried so many different angles and just kept hitting a wall. But I picked it up this fall, late fall. 2015 fall, and I wanted to see if I could make another crack at it. And I also thought, the whole point with the mix CD, it would be very fun to include an original track by me. I don't release that much music these days, so I really wanted to have something truly special there. And with this intro kind of thing, it would be so perfect if I could finish up a track and use it as the intro to the whole mix compilation. And I pulled it off. I made a track that I'm super happy with, and I think I'm gonna take my chance here and show you the nits and grits of what it is I do in the studio. And I might have to answer for all the weird ugly hacks I do. It's not always pretty solutions, but it's all about the end result. And you learn a way to produce music over the years, and you kind of stick to that because that's the way you know how to do it. You know there are better ways, but because you've been doing it the same way for so long to achieve some specific kind of sound, you just roll with it because it's the fastest solution, and again, end results is all that matters. You see, this is the full track. I've sized this down to a 1080p window now, so for me it looks very small. I sit with a much larger monitor otherwise, so I have a better view of it at all, but I hope I can navigate around anyway. So actually I didn't recheck the back behind my back video I did, so I don't know how I came upon or how I went through the track, but I think I'll just go from top to bottom. I could take it from left to right. I'll do some stops along the way here, but I will assume that when you hear this or watch this video, you are at least familiar with the track in some way. If not, you can find it on Spotify, iTunes, Beatport, basically anywhere. So let's take it from the top, and this is one of those things I always do for every track. I have a specific track for channel 1 where I keep the sidechain kick, and it's no more complicated than just a simple kick sound with a reduced delay, a decay, to just have a clicking sound rolling through. You can see the upgrade button here because this is a project. It's so old that I haven't upgraded all the plugins. And one of the things with opening up old projects is also that you of course you do things the way you've always done them, but sometimes you also learn new things, and software gets better, but it's a little annoying to open up an old project with newfound wisdom of how you produce music, because it's not you haven't arranged it like you would nowadays. And this track perhaps is a little bit more messy arrangement-wise than if I would start a project today. But I cannot remember who I was back when I started this track, so I know how the thought process was. But I countered a couple of these, and I have updated where I've seen it, but I've actually missed the sidechain sampler here. Anyway, just a simple click to control the sidechain for some channels. We can see where those hook up later. The very start of the track is a little sample that I found somewhere, a glockenspiel. And that basically comes and goes pretty much through the track. There's some automation for delay here, but I haven't used it. Perhaps just I've forgotten to take it away. I've tried something, it didn't work, and I just forgot to delete it, but it doesn't seem to do anything unless there's some other parameter. No. And also the texture. This is part of the original intro that I did a few years back. Kind of a drone here. I believe I have some bad habit channel volume automation going here. Let's jump ahead. Basically just a big drone kind of pad thing going. Some reverb, removing the low end. Not here, but I believe of course I remove it once I introduce bass notes somewhere or a kick or anything, but it's basically without the low end from there on. And also one of my favorite plugins, the Valhalla Shimmer. It's a great plugin to add a really spacious reverb, kind of that Brian Eno kind of vibe. We can try and crank it here just to show you. It doubles up the octaves of the reverb, so it's awesome. It's a little bit metallic to the sound, but I still love it. You will see Valhalla Shimmer show up quite a few times. That's also sample based, so far there's only samples. Jazz chords, something I found just browsing my sample library. Reminds me a little bit of Solar Coaster, a little that noir film kind of vibe. And I believe I use it through the track for parts where I just thought it would fit. Here I have lowered it a little bit to not compete with the other things going on. And here I've also made a version of it where I basically reverse it. So it comes up here and reverses itself. I love sounds in reverse, and it fits well there. Kick effects is just a low end, a boomy kind of bass kick that I have originally used as a reverse kind of fill-in or effects riser for parts where I think it just suited well. And it's also reversed and not non-reversed for the places where there's no kick drum. You can see how the kick comes in here at the track, and I haven't used it here because it's kind of boomy. So let's just take it off solo here. Kind of subtle, but you don't want it competing here with the kick coming in. So that just comes and goes basically through the whole track. Bass. One of the things that I really liked with this sample from back then was the bass sound. And actually, I had it's not as common these days as before, but sometimes you open up a project and it lost all the information about the specific sound, like the synthesizer went back to the initialize mode or something, and you can't figure out which sound you had. Luckily, I had a problem finding the FM8 sound for this. It's an FM synthesizer, really old from Native Instruments, but somehow I managed to open the project in one version of Live, and it actually popped up, and it has kind of a very meaty sound. it's kind of phasing in and out of itself, because I think the bass 1 and bass 2 channels, they are competing a little bit against each other, but I'm fine with it. I've been so obsessed previously with everything always being so damn perfect, and I think it's a little nitty-gritty. You wouldn't bother if this was analog stuff back in the days, and I just thought it had a little bit of character to it, that it always sounds a little different throughout. And if you're wondering, well, there's 3 channels here. Well, I collect all the bass channels in one group. You can tell it by the capital letters, bass or rare. That's bass. Almost always. I usually color code these folders. I usually have white for those who are actually groups, just to have a better overview. To me, it's basically it's not like I always dump all bass related into one group, but if you have something often that it plays the same notes or something, and you can get them out on the same channel without competing, then I don't have a problem with it. It's for grouping purposes and overview purpose. It's kind of practical. I have some effects on the separate channels. I have the sidechain from for the kick, and you can also see here I have the sidechaining for a kick, not for the sound sidechain channel. This is because when I made this sample, I didn't use this procedure, so I added this to because I didn't want to change everything that was connected to the kick from the old project, but everything new that I introduced, I didn't want to use the kick itself as a sidechain, because it's not a good idea, because you don't have control of your sound if you're gonna use the kick, because if it's a long boomy kick, you will not be able to control the decay of the sidechain. So I like to have this control with my own separate. I don't need to have sidechain. I can have it. I can alter it any way I want without having to basically care about the kick. But I didn't want to mess with the sound of the bass because I really liked it, so I let it be there. So basically for one of the basses, it's the FM8 that does the whole weird kind of wide broken bass sound, but it sits well with the bass too. Kind of usual trancy kind of bass. Airbase, the Renaissance bass from Waves, a fantastic plugin. I love it to make that a little extra bass. I'm not sure if that's really coming through on YouTube. We'll see. Sidechain here as well. The EQ, which narrows it down. This is a like 15 years ago, you didn't want to have low-end wide bass because it would it could increase the risk of the needle from the turntable to actually skip if you had too much of a wide sound in the low end. So you won't need this these days, but sometimes it makes the sound of the track more tidy if you can bring the low end into a center if there's no specific need for it to be wide. So this is instead of using it as a stereo EQ, you can use it as a mono stereo EQ. So what I've done is set it to mono/stereo mode, and for the stereo separation, I'm basically throwing everything from 474 hertz and below. I'm throwing into a mono. You can hear the effects of going from really dead center out to super wide. So just to bring it in a little bit. And for the main group channel, I've also have a few filters, just low end and high end, high pass and low pass to take it out when I think when I want to reduce the overall filtering of the bass. I don't want to do it on every specific bass channel because I like the sound, but I don't want because hard to explain, but this very weird FM8 bass, if you start filtering that separately from this one, you might lose the the cohesive sound that they make together. So you just want to filter them as a group instead of individually. So that's why I got it on the main group. Quick organ, I don't even know what that is. Let's listen. Oh, sorry. Solo. Yeah, Omnisphere, one of my all-time favorites. Doing nothing more than a little arpeggio with the delays and reverb. Compressing it a little bit, removing the low end just so it doesn't mess, because it's hitting on notes everywhere. So I don't want it to mess with my kick or anything else. I'm super super picky with having, okay, does this sound have bass, or does this sound have some kind of low end? Okay, or is there a kick drum involved? Yes, then I want to remove it, because sometimes you find bass that goes very well with your kick, but mostly they just clash for no good reason. So you might as well remove it to reduce clutter. And I mean, I'm the king of clutter. My productions are very full with sounds. I like to just add more and more and more sounds. So you need to make room for the things that matter by just reducing low end stuff. So that's always create new channel, drop a synth, drop an EQ, remove low end. It's the default way to do it for me. Then we approach some effects channel here. Sorry, there we go. No delay, nothing, just a super subtle alien kind of down sweeping effect. And also a little breathing effect with some slight reverb. Well, not so slight, 64% wet, but it's good. It gives, it works. It's also from the very original version. It sits very well with the overall sound. And then we come to the funny stuff, the glitch FX one. I guess by naming it FX1, I had plans to use more effects. But basically, it's a mixture of 3 different Effectrix plugins. Super simple plugin to manipulate sounds. And what I do here, I just filter and turn them off, on and off. And so I turn them on and off, switch between them. Might sound crazy when you play it like this. So you can see I cut the low end here as well. But combined with everything else, it just sounds glitchy and nice. I like glitchy sounds. And some places I don't even have a track volume. You can see it's off, and I manipulate it because they do some delay and glitchy stuff that keeps going after it plays. So here you can actually see there's nothing playing. I'm just adding effects for the sound it will make when I turn it on after the clip is done. So if I play here, it's going to be silent until it ends, and then we're just going to have the result from these effects. I never plan for things to sound like this. It's just messing around with plugins to see what happens. And if I like it, I try it with the other instruments, and I just go with it. Kick and kick alt. The old track had a different kick drum. I didn't want to delete it. As I said before, I want to keep it for the sidechain stuff that uses that kick, but I did want to use another kick. And that's also a problem, that using a kick as your sidechain controller, if you decide, no, I want another kick, then you would have that problem that your new kick could possibly alter the sound of those channels using it for sidechaining, because you switched the sound that it's using for sidechaining. So I kept that one around. Perhaps I should just move it to the top and keep it there and rename it to old sidechain or something. But nothing weird here, just a basic sampler with a kick. Only thing worth mentioning here could perhaps be that I'm using also Velocity, a MIDI plugin, MIDI effect, and that's to control the velocity for the build up after the break. You could do this. I mean, this is basically adjusting these. I could, because I want this rolling for a very long time, I could group all these and join them together and start drawing here if I wanted to. But that's not a pretty solution. I want things to loop if there are consistent note-wise, and I don't see any purpose for that. I might as well just use that as a separate controller and adjust it, because the result is the very same, so why not? Snare, Alt, same version there. The reason it's still called Alt is because I couldn't decide if I wanted to use the old snare, because it was nice, but it was a little it's very short, almost more like a short snap than a snare, and I couldn't decide, so I kept them both for very long. I just deleted the muted original from the project before I exported, so it made it all the way to the end. I wasn't sure, but now I'm confident with this snare. I should be, because the track is out. And I think there's nothing going on here for the snare. Just some basic low end removal. It's worth noting, even when you don't think you need to remove low end, you do, because snare shouldn't be low end, but there's always a little bit of EQ in there, so you can check the spectrum behind there. There's things going on in the low end, so might as well remove it. Oh, this is gonna be a quite the long video. I'm moving super slow here, but I'm just trying to explain myself and excuse myself and educate. Loop 1, just basic loops. I've quantized the loop the way I want it. I've shortened it, and yeah, I've done some volume automation in the clip there, but since I'm not using it, it's looping the first part, so that's probably old remnants from things that I wasn't, I just didn't need to use it. So effect wise, I had some compressor on the loop, and I have some compressor here as well on the next. Oh, here I have a silencer, sorry, noise removal. So I assume this noise, there's some weird noise in this. I can't hear it right now, but I guess I put there for some reason. Perhaps I put it there. I switched the loop from something noisy to this one, and it just I'm terrible with cleaning up after myself, but it didn't affect the sound, and even if it did, I was happy with the results. So not everything happens because you planned it. You just have to go with it, and if it sounds good, it sounds good. More loops, compression. Some nice sparkly high end there. I wanted to include a little extra there, so I boosted the bottom end there. Sorry, the high end. Bad practice again. You should never automate the main volume. Double wider just brings it out a little bit from the center, throws it out in the left and right. It's great. And then we have this like collect all weird samples. Nothing more on the channel than a compressor, some weird. Yeah, you can hear there combinations of different loops, small loop tidbits, fill-ins to just add some extra spice. Sounds cool with that one combined with the glitch, because it sounds like they are a result of each other, but they have nothing to do with each other. Then we have like fill-in channel. I don't believe I used the fill-in channel for anything until the very climax part here. Nope, that's all I use it for. Boing, who knows what that might be. Let's start from the very beginning. Oh, that's the little tiny. Such a small little tiny sound, and it's so memorable. I really like it. Cymbal, I didn't even have a cymbal in this track until I reached the build-up part, but because cymbal is always something I add very late in the production. They're an annoyance when you start looping projects. If I wanted to loop this part just to like put down a nice sequencer running, I just don't want the crash running there, and crashes are I don't like crashes. They're ugly sounding, but they serve a purpose, but I've saved them for last. Simple delay with a little bit of adjustment of the sync for left and right. That it gives it a little bit of stereo separation. So if it's centered for the very first hit and the delay hits it with a little bit of delay, a pre-delay and post-delay on the left and right, it's going to go wider and wider. You can hear it move out and in. We can try just throwing it super off here. That's quite much. You still want it to bounce with the synced tempo, so you don't have to go very high there to achieve the wide effect. But if you go higher, you might have a problem that it beats, it bounces off beat, and that's gonna make it sound a little bit untight. Then we have some risers. These are the standard. Here we have side chaining as well, but this time it's on the sidechain channel. And the good thing here is that I have so much more control of, and I can address it as I want. I don't have to take into account how long the sidechain click is. If I wanted this super short, I could. This wouldn't be possible if I had a big booming kick, because that would never release fast enough. Sorry, I'm getting too technical. Let's hope I don't save this project now. It's the master project. Well, I have backups, no problem. Just gotta stay away from the save button. Some more risers, especially for the build-up. And by the way, this is the same for this channel as the other channel. Basically, the big Valhalla reverb that I talked about earlier, just putting it before the sidechain compressor, because then it doesn't matter how the effect ends, it's still gonna have a very nice sound to it from the reverb. Of course, that's a bad place to demonstrate that, because this is the only place of the track where I remove the sidechain. We can enable it. Yeah, so some a mixed bag of risers and downers. House chord, what might this be? Also from the original, some little house loop that I've found somewhere. Very subtle, and I hope oh, this is not good. I don't like finding these things after the track has been released. This should of course have some filtering, remove the low end when the kick comes in. or at least, I mean, okay, the sound almost disappears. Perhaps I should have used... no, sorry, we have a sidechain there for the kick. Perfect. Doesn't remove that much bass. I would, if I had to had the chance to redo it, I would remove some more bass. And you can see it only runs in the parts where there are no chord changes, so it doesn't mess with, because it's just straight bass bass line there. So, and that's one of the things you learn, by the way. Because you introduce the sound, it doesn't mean you have to use it all the way through. You can remove it if other things want to come in and play. So it just stops playing from this little, I don't even know what to call them. Are they some sort of pre-breakdown? I don't know. I'm throwing in a lot of piano here, so a good place to remove the chord. And if you heard my music the last couple of years, you've noticed I'm a big fan of piano. And here we just go for super low bass tones. And we move after the whole build up for the intro, before getting to the breakdown. I'm switching from the low end keys over to a little bit more usual piano play. Like teasing a little bit what's coming. I assume I'm doing the same here, and that's a good thing. With piano, I want this. Okay, this is quite straightforward, but usually I try to record it actually playing the notes to get a real piano feel. Here I've it looks like I've actually drawn these. Then I actually manually reduced the timing for piano notes, so you get a little, so it doesn't get so digital. You want this kind of piano delay that it's impossible to hit the notes perfectly on a keyboard. So I just moved some of the notes to get that kind of gives a nice sound to it. Well, I'm teasing the piano all the way into the breakdown, and then I'm there with my low end bass again. And the sustain pedal as well. This is manually fixed. I use it when I record the piano parts, but then I fixed the sustain pedal by drawing it, so I perfectly time it. A lot going on here. Cutting the low end, compressing it, delaying, reverb, and then side chaining it. And I believe it's pretty much the same for the pad 2. I believe the pad 2 is more the bright classic trance. It adds nice brightness to the track. So while this adds like this evolving, a little bit of moving kind of floaty sound. And yet again, track volume automation, bad practice. But you know, that's how it goes. Sequence group. I wonder what this is. Let's check it out. Okay, so it's the intro sequence group with two synthesizers, one massive and one Zebra. That's quite the common layering setup that I use. Zebra has some fantastic sounds. It's my go-to synthesizer still after so many years, and a massive just there to add some extra oomph to the layering of it. I've added the usual stuff. It's a little bit of compression, EQing, brightening, making it a little brighter, removing the low end, delay and reverb, and then I do some specifics on each channel. Here we have the glue compressor, which really just packs it all together. It's not the best thing that happened to dynamics, but sometimes it can be good to just squeeze your sound together, because it has such a dynamic range from very low filtered up to fully open, full spectrum, and the volume, I don't want to automate it. I might as well just use a compressor that brings it up when it's low and brings it down when it's loud. So quick and dirty trick. Just keep an eye on the settings if something sounds weird. It's not a very good tool for plucks, because if you have this attack to the very lowest, the pluck will not sound like a pluck, and if you have just the sliders here, it's going to be very, very snappy in the beginning and then be quite low volume wise. So it's not the best plugin for plucky sounds. And since these are playing the exact same notes, and there's no use in having the same notes and in two places, all you have to do then is to change it in two places if you want to change something. I'm just using the sequencer 2 here. MIDI from, I want the MIDI coming from sequencer 1, that's the name of that channel. Just use that MIDI instead and set the monitor to in, so it can receive the sounds from there. Then it will automatically take that sound. You don't even have to have that sound on. You can just solo out that one, and still it's a great way to minimize job. And if you've been watching this far, you might wonder, hey, but why didn't you do that with the bass line? Because if you remember, they are playing almost the same, but they're still separate. Why didn't I use this trick here? Well, because some bass lines are very tricky, because they have a range where they are really good, and you can't always be sure that when you take one bass line and you push it to a certain high note or to a low note, that it will sound good still. If you have several bass lines, you might have to go one octave up or down. And here's a good example. This one is low, going up. And I say that is about as low that sound should go. Shouldn't go much lower. But you can see there's still some room under there. It means that I did go lower somewhere else here. Anyway, if you will listen to the next bass here. So this one starts one octave higher instead. If this would have used the notes from the above one, this one would have been one octave lower. And when this bass is so low as it is, that would be a combined. You lose some energy there. Let's play it with everything. I'm not sure you can hear the difference when there's so much sounds going on at the same time, but I can sure hear the difference here. And if you happen upon a place where your bass changes, all of a sudden it sounds like the energy is being lost in the transition. You go from one chord to the next, and something feels off, like you lose the energy. It might be a good idea to check if one of the bass lines go too high or too low, and address that. So that's the reason why I did that over there. But here, that's not a problem. We have a group channel. I already went through that, and we went through the compressors and everything here. So, well, we're done with the sequence group. Let's go to the sequence 3. I was just hammering away on the keyboard, and I just happened upon this. This is textbook 101 trance chords from 99 tip basically. But I thought, let's just, why the hell not? It fits well with the track, so let's just call it a throwback. And it's filtering. Nowhere in the track it passes this point for when it's actually playing full out, but over here on the big build-up I'm letting it go beyond where I really like the sound. Let's just check. Still sounds good, and but I don't need it that bright with all the other synths, but for the build-up I just wanted to kind of all mash together to one big yeah, I mean, it's a build-up. I want a full energy out of it, so that's the reason for that. The fourth sequence, this is the last sound I added to the whole project actually. I just wanted a little bit something except for that, because I start straight and then we find the new chords, and then I bring in that sequence group. But I thought I want a little something trickling in the background between the changes, and I found this. I don't know if you remember the Trans Act Outback. Like 10 years ago or something, and they had a very kind of metallic sound, and I happened on something in Omnisphere that had, or even Yahel, old Yahel DNA deep mix or that kind of tracks, and I really like that sound, and it fits perfect between the different changes, because I mean it changes chords on these markers, and I just wanted to trickle in before the next change. And since I'm moving it up with the velocity here, you don't hear much of it from the very beginning. Most of the sounds from it happens after the transition. And there's the Valhalla Shimmer as well, the delay, removing some low end and adding a little bit of clarity, compressing it a little bit, and an old bit crusher that I used to try different sounds for this part. So, and I just decided not to use it, but forgot to delete it. Then we have the big leads. It's a combination of, there's some serious layering going on here, as you can see. The whole group contains just delay and reverb, and then everything else happens on the channel base. So as you can see, we have one synth, 2, 3, and 4. Nope, we have 4, 5, 6, 7 layered synths and one pad. I believe that they are not connected. The pad is just for the low end, and the keys for the synthesizers are from C3 and up. So it's basically a multi-purpose instrument. You might recognize this sound because I think I stole this straight from Mondegreen from last year, and I used it. I think I tweaked some of those sounds, but basically they're just beefing up the other 3 synthesizers. And this instrument track, I mean, it might look complex, but basically it's just a group of instruments in one channel, and for each channel here within the boundaries. These things are what's on each channel. I could add effects here if I wanted to that are specific for just that lead. Like here, the pad, I use some pitch changes, and also here, and everything without, like outside of these boundaries, are combined for everyone. So this filter filters all these instruments, but if I would go to lead 2 and I would move that in, it would only affect lead 2 and not the other things. So it's a little bit of granular controls. So what's the last thing? Well, white noise, the recent trick. When you just don't think the cymbal is enough to kick off the track after build up, then white noise is always a good idea. I'm not sure it's a good idea, but it sounds more powerful. Let me try and turn that one off. Now let's start with it on. So this is basically white noise going through the whole main part of the song, the main theme. It just brightens everything up, and it's a great way to add a little bit more energy. It can be perceived a little bit as an effect that is going through the whole track, but it's just basic, simple white noise. Nothing else. And of course, white noise, it covers the whole spectrum, so you need to remove the low end. Might not be as audible as it's showing in the spectrum here, but it will add up to the mix, so always cut it. Sylenth is a great plugin for that. It just throw the noise on there, set it to I have 2 voices here for a little bit of stereo, but that's basically everything you need. Turn everything else off. There's not even reverb or anything here. You could have possibly added a little bit of reverb so it didn't die off as quick as it does there, but there's so much effects going on up here anyway for this little break before it goes into the outro that it just didn't need it. It just added extra clutter because I'm not in need of energy from there on, and it doesn't sound like it's being cut off very fast over there. But you could do it. Perhaps I should have done it, or just remove some. I need to check that out. There's some release there, so it doesn't die out instantly. If I had the release on the very, that would be a little stranger. But having a little bit of a lot of release there, you can't actually hear the sound going away. So sorry. Side note. So basically that's it. The whole track. Nothing on the master channel, I believe. Never use anything there. I'm not a big guy, return sends kind of guy. It's so straight up. It's how I do it, and well, it works for me. And this track is well, there's a lot of channels hidden beneath some groups over here, but for a track of mine, I'm not using that many channels actually. This is quite restrained for being me. I believe Panache was like 60 channels or something. Funny to it's nice to keep it simple sometimes, and don't add more for the sake of it. And I was happy with the track at this stage, so you better stop when when everything you're doing makes it sound worse, then that's a good place to stop. All right, I hope this has been a little informative, entertaining, a little nice insight into how I do it. There's a million ways to do music, and this is my way. It might not always look pretty, but to me it sounds pretty, and I'm very happy to be able to do it this way. I'm all about fast workflow and tweakability, and I've still not come across anything that's as fast to use work-wise as Ableton. But everyone has their favorite softwares, and for me, nothing I've tried beats this one. But perhaps it's just because I've spent 12 years in this software. It's super fast for me. So if you haven't tried it, I suggest you check it out. And a tips is to go and look in the help view from the view options. Sorry, I'm recording a little section of the screen here, but if you're interested in live, and the most common thing I hear about live is, okay, I open the software, I don't understand how it's working. Often you end up in this clip view. Sorry, I don't even remember what it's called. Arrangement session view, I believe it is. And it might be a little strange to understand the concept, but use the help section from the top menu and go through the tour of live, for example, and you will be up and running quickly. To me, I'm always working here. I do very little here, perhaps just the standard, the basic beat, like bass, kick, snare, that kind of work here. Then I move it almost instantly over to the arrangement view and keep everything in here. To me, this is nothing more than a mixer. That's I've compressed everything here, but this is basically to me it's just a mixer. Anyway, as said, I hope you enjoyed it, and perhaps you learned a trick or two, or perhaps you learned something that, okay, that's the reason why I shouldn't do that. If you think there's something that's very off in my sound, perhaps you found the reason for it around here. I don't know. I'm happy with it, and I hope you enjoy the track. And don't forget to check out the Flashover Presents, Flashover Recordings Presents, the mix compilation that I did out on Flashover. Right now, 4th of March was the release date, and hopefully you found this video after that. And check it out, Spotify, iTunes, Beatport, basically anywhere. Follow me on Twitter at Airbase, or at my blog, airbasemusic.com. And if you want to find me on Instagram, you can log in and search for Jesper with a Z, and you will find me there. All right, take care.